for something. I was thinking of titling this and the hatred of speculation. I don't know. All right, because um I have that strange quality that I attribute to the Libraic aspects of my chart, where I keep things kind of neutral, where I keep things um, kind of pushing one way or the other. If something pushes left, I push back to the right. If I think it's going out of bounds, right? You know, the Libraic tendencies have that referee quality as well as that judge quality. It depends on the role that they're in, and you can think about that in context to the opposition, which comes from, you know, my Aries qualities, which are stronger because that is my soul sign. So I can be a little confusing because I'm an Aries, so I'm a self, but I have a lot of relationship with my not self shadow of Aries, because of what the placement is going on in my Libra side. So, um, even people that remember everybody remembers the past. Um, Conservatives like to feel like they remember the past better. Hang on. I have to water my weed. But anyway, um, you know, and this has a lot to do with the fact that, you know, conservatives want to preserve things, and you know, liberals want to innovate things for um, for the little guy, for the general population. And if you really fucking probe people on this, you'll find that on the baseline principles they actually agree. The period of time that we've been living in has been so extreme that baseline principles um, have been left forfeit. So, with the baseline forfeiture, they're able to keep you in a cognitive loop because you need to be remembering the baseline to have a foundation in which you establish reconciliation. But when everything, but when you don't want to talk about everything you would usually agree with, you forfeit everything um, that you forgot that you cherished. this gets into the principles of which we apply the mythology of what brings back Balder, the conditions um, that release Balder from the underworld, which they would say is basically what happens about the same time that well, that hell is unleashed across the nine realms when Loki brings Naglfar to lay siege. Right, and so 2020 was going through a Ragnarok cycle. Now, many people don't understand many things, right? So, what I find the most interesting is the manner in which I think, regardless of whether we had the subtext of Charlie Kirk to talk about, that, you know, I think a timeline, a psyche split was unavoidable by the time somebody had made the decision to pull off whatever they wanted to pull off, right? And because I'm paying attention to ideas about what things go to where one argument is abandoned and one argument is kept. Hi, everybody. Miss Chikasha Kayalinian and Paisley P2E. Thank you. So, like, people are like surprised, for instance, that either I've had a change of position or a clarity of position where, like, I'm not a quote Zionist, but as a nationalist, I also look at the situation in Palestine, right? And I bring this up all the time because a subtext of a lot of what I'm doing, because I don't like working off of scripts, doesn't suit me at all, is that I don't want to be some guy who's trying to defend Israel's actions. What I am doing is I am looking at how the subhuman rhetoric has emerged out of the underworld, which just all of it in spirit. I don't care about the words, because the words are lies, because I can read the people. They don't want Israel to exist because they understand that the Balfour Declaration was bullshit. But they don't understand that we're now living in 2026, and you're asking for a greater slaughter to undo the state of Israel. And so, unfortunately, based on knowing that their globalism is wrong, their anti-colonialism, which is a ruse, a farce, is wrong. Looking at all best options on the table, people don't understand. Like, they just, like, you don't want a solution. You just want to complain on the right side morally of the argument, give your emotional charge to it, and you're not helping at all. You're just letting me know how you feel. And that's fine. I now know how you feel. right? If you want to understand why the timeline is where it is, stop acting like things are happening because you are being betrayed. The press asked President Trump, "What made you change your mind?" And he said, "I got to know them." As I have said, time has marched on, right? Probably nobody has been as bold and direct a negotiator with Iran ever since this time. Everybody can see what this is. If you can't tell that this is a completely irrational thing, and what's the left supposed to? Okay, the left wants to cheer Iran. Fine. If the left wants to cheer Iran, you also have to cheer for Russia. Because Russia and Iran, oh, isn't that funny? I'm sorry. I thought you stood with the Ukraine. You're actually standing. I mean, look, the devastation's been done to the Ukraine. Devastation's been done to the deep state in the Ukraine, by the way. But as I understand it, things are on the flip, and it's scaring somebody, which is why Senator Graham is dead, I believe. Looking at the whole thing, I am sorry. He may have been a 71-year-old fart, but he obviously still had his wits, his energy. I'd say he was not too old. I'd say at the very least he could have fucking gone to the end of term and then handed South Carolina to someone else. Right? Our big problems are guys like Mitch, people like John McCain, who died in office and was fucking brain dead half the time. Like how brain dead was Joe Biden by 2008. He must have had some fucking problems because he's always been that fucking guy who talked that way, right? On top of him being a senator compromised by the deep state in various different ways, and who knows how they got to him. What's up, Peaceful? So this is the neutral place, because it's not that your side is morally right or wrong or whatever. It's just that until y'all can fucking stop and listen for a little bit, understand that there's way more to the story, and it does not want to seek you out, but you can seek it out. Think of it like the goddess. She's this mystery that you seek out to look into that place, right? To understand the goddess, you have to understand an environment around you, which is why I did my little series on the Middle East, which I will likely do more of in the future, or I'm just like, okay, what can I get a better idea of life on the ground? Because when I see shit happen in America, I'm looking at life on the ground, and I have a way better idea of what the two random dudes speaking my language are going through. This guy in his little business, this guy in his little hood rat nature, and the crime that just happened, so on and so forth, right? It's just that's a different perception. That's why I'm listening to actual secular Iranians who are Shavid Shah, right? Long live Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi, and listening to them and being like, no, Savak had to be a little bit brutal with guys like the guys that are raping us right now, right? That's literally what it is. So, fuck the left. Savak were fucking a vanguard, a sentinel of the integrity of the Shaw, the true nation of the Lion and the Sun. So that changes my perception. Look, man, there's a conspiracy to do what they're doing with the Bible, and it's all very scary because of the control mechanisms of the belief systems of the Fabian socialists among the secret unknowns at the top that play this game as the incunabula, the black nobility, and the so on and the so forth of these organizations that are, basically this kind of, this anti-verse, anti-God, demon seed fucking dark sorcery doing all sorts of crazy esoteric shit in this realm. And Christianity is different than Islam and Judaism. It's just but then again, all of them have their fundamentalist things. And like I said, there's this difference between Muslim and Islam that it's probably too vague of a line of a difference, but it's supposed to be there, right? Because like I've not been able to understand it yet. I just am aware that there's some people that say that. And there's been Muslims minding their own fucking business in various parts of this country for a long ass time. There have been mosques in New York City doing their thing, before fucking 9/11. Fairly targeted after 9/11 in the post-madness of it all, which also involved retardedly fucking attacking, like, Sikhs because they just looked at a guy with a turban and whatever. And all that was kind of blown out of proportion because of a small part of the population that just gets outraged like that, and they're very sensitive racially to these kinds of people. They honor women in a such as like, listen, lady don't want to fucking wear that, lady don't gotta wear that. That's her prerogative, right? No, you don't talk to her like that. That's somebody's daughter, mate, right? Like, they do what to fucking dogs? It's just like, yeah, if I could confirm that you were that kind of stereotypical, like, whatever, I don't know how much I'd be able to remain civilized in your presence if I saw you fucking manhandling a fucking puppy because you were treating it like it was a fucking disease-ridden rat and it's the cutest fucking thing and it's healthy at the moment and you're scaring it and I want to fucking kill you right now. As a man just standing right in front of you, I don't need a presidential order to see that I ought to kill you for hurting a puppy. And I don't want to assume that every fucking Muslim is hurting puppies. That can't be fucking right. It's fine if they're not going to be pets. But, like, whatever happened to God's creatures, right? So there has to obviously be a mythology about dogs. And I understand that there's literally shit in the Quran that justifies it, allegedly. But, oh, for fuck's sake, right? That gets into a hatred of various canine associated deities that were of a warrior kind that I think a lot of Islam didn't want to have as part of its culture, and instead of having their own version of these kinds of warriors, right? We're Christians, we may have fucking gone after the bears and the wolves, but a domesticated dog, a formidable warrior type of dog, the types that we love, our Doberman Pinschers, German Shepherds, and, pit bulls, and all these dogs that are fucking athletic and got all of the wolf-like instincts you're asking for, with all of the domestication and loyalty to man that you're looking for. They're not as powerful as the wolf, um, but they are a perfect extra sensory companion, right? They're a heart connected fucking alarm system with a certain danger sense that is towards all whom understand that the dog loves, or is conditioned to defend in that same manner of I guess love, right? Like we've all seen what amazingly trained guard dogs and helper dogs and things like that can do, right? So um so this all kind of fuels things accident that the Islamic Antichrist is a one-eyed man. And I think that even I think because the Northern European Christian is still is a Norse Germanic aspect of Christianity, the spirit of the Watanic consciousness from those that were forced to convert, who knew that this wasn't their nature, but they had to fall into the abandonment for the sake of the bloodline, self-preservation. They hid the important qualities and did what all people that were forced to convert to Christianity did. They said, "Oh yeah, we're worshiping Jesus. Here's Jesus now," and it's their version of Jesus, and it fits a different trope. Um, and so like the fundamentalist probably needs somebody who's literally with one eye, which they probably wanted to play that off with that schmuck with the eye patch who got into Congress, who came off as a MAGA Republican. I don't remember his name, because I think he's been thrown out of political relevance. I think he's out of Congress too, something like that. A nation is above all the hearts and minds of its people. Pyramid-like structures, each level under it knowing less and less upon the reaching to the bottom. Who gave you permission to cause harm? Dan Crenshaw, yes. Dan Crenshaw. Right. And so it doesn't have to be that way, but people choose to be that way. Right? It's like this is why I have the position that I have with Begonia, right? It's really analyzing the whole issue of what it means to be right, except for how your relationship with it actually is, right? And there's the deep subtext of the eugenics programming of it all, with the irony of the self-eugenicizing that the two main characters do, as per effectively the rights of protection before they engage in conversation with this space demon, right? And the more I think about it, her outfit and the way she walks around the spaceship in the outfit at the end of the film, with it's nearly casts the same silhouette as Love. I think they were saying that the Andromedans have the same relationship with Earth as Lovecraftian elder things, which that works because the the Lovecraftian end to the characters are perfect, where one realizes the horrible things he's done in doubt of the entity in front of him and blows his brains out because he feels like a horrible person who can't live with what he's just done. Um, and then the other guy as a terrified wreck of a soul who thought everything through except for his own personal welfare, destroys himself seconds before salvation and redemption and reconciliation. That's a Lovecraftian ending. Fucking brilliant, really, right? Um, I fucking loved it. It's a good Black Mirror for a lot of people. Um, but it requires a guided understanding of the film because he needed to take in new information. He needed to go through a healthier doubt process to re-examine his relationship and what was required. Right? All the things that would have made the movie not a, but it's meant to be a horror movie by, you know, you know, by the desperations of people in, um, you see, you don't want to say it's reality escaping when the film is affirming that they were right. And you can apply that to when anybody's right about anything because you want to agree with that. Here's what's wrong, though. You're participating in the sympathetic sacrifice of the hero, right? You're telling the hero that he doesn't have to, that he's perfect as he is. There's nothing he can do about the situation that he's in, right? It's not a movie that presents him with the seeker of self. It's a movie that presents him with the seeker of the existential, right? And I promise you, you reach the end of the existential answer, it'll never fucking fix you, so that way you can fix everything else first. The worst thing you can do is give up your God-given right to choose for in it you can choose not to choose. Therein is the final judgment, the illusion dream. Right. Right. And one of the scarier things about doing that is also realizing how many personal responsibilities you just got to go bonk yourself on the head. Meet those responsibilities head on. Realize that you've got a lot of setbacks that really tear you up inside because you wish you were a more capable man. And so then you figure out how to set those plans into place, right? After the pandemic, I didn't plan on fucking kidnapping the president of Pfizer and making him confess that, that he was doing this fucking conspiracy that I had figured out, I fucking started fucking exercising, fight training, and taking my diet to another level, adjusting several other bad habits, and so on and so forth. Um, and The way going through that lifestyle change completely changes the chemistry of the brain, because now the brain is seeing so much activity happening so much faster. You're doing things at better levels of proficiency and coordination, and it's some sort of special miracle. It's hardly a miracle because it was all work, but it feels like a miracle. It's the closest thing to an overnight transformation if you've pushed yourself uh, hard enough in the first month to start the new habits. And then it's just a question of how you want to change as you go, because you don't always want to be in the same mode. There's phases, right? So unfortunately, people still want to live in easy fit, polarized camps, where um, they can go pretty hard on certain things and be a little bit more reckless on the fringes. Uh, and then the problem is that some of us, I mean, people that go that way are typically the most uninformed, don't have time to be informed, and think that the people that are professional informers are people they trust by their own judgment. They like the work they did in the past. They think they've cross checked and verified it, and everything else. And believe me, there's always something that people just don't want to do and acknowledge in that. Uh, and so this is why liberals who would otherwise care about the liberation of Iran don't care about it, right? Um, because they feel bad for all these people that have been that are the poor people in other countries that are making uneducated decisions about being socialist and communist, listening to the most privileged people associated with vulture culture, Fabian socialist families, the nepotists, which involve, many people that you don't know about, because, like, if the CIA was manipulating everybody through television and Hollywood, and maybe the newspapers or whatever up until now, they're definitely now moving into um, podcasting and things like that. They're trying to figure out, how to do it online in that kind of way. Um, and they're having a hard time doing it because the internet spaces that are the most productive like that are deeply open, right? The guy that you're all there for, right? The host of that show or whatever, who may be the fucking intelligence agent plant or foreign agent plant, um, if he's not capable of having real conversations with real people out there, you know, speaking and showing their face and whatnot on the internet, and getting an idea of who that guy is by being able to watch a human fluid back and forth that also involves, you know, the politics that you're all about, or whatever kind of thing you're talking about in the professional field, you're in for a world of serious trouble as you get led by the nose by all of these fucking charlatans. Right? I don't sit here and act like I need to tell you that you're gonna fucking be lost in the underworld if you don't fucking listen to Seth Gizboza, Black Earth Productions, and think about getting initiated in the Temple of the White Dragon like me. Right? But from time to time, I throw it out there because of, you know, just like, you know, gotta initiate, you know, get a session. Have a chance to fucking, at the very least, hear him out for either what you need or perhaps an answer to a bigger question that you're working on. Right? He has therapeutic credentials that he walked away from, um, because of how much, at the time especially, um, uh, Jungian, um, were still being suppressed and frowned upon as kind of just like this bizarro offset of the rejected Freudian, which Freud is, Freud is various problems, but Jung had nothing to do with those problems. Yeah, yeah, he is. He's on another level. You know, and his latest videos, he's come out with these credentials, um, where he claims that he may be, the, I forget if it's the Hopi, but it's there's the prophecy of the Pahana, and he has this stone that he believes is the correct stone, uh, this red stone for that's a chip off of a tablet, and he shows it in the video, right? And I've known about this as a member, looking at the private archives, and he didn't want anybody to say anything about that. Now it can be discussed as per what's been brought out, right? So that's a pretty big claim, but he's been trying to appeal to various Native American elders for a long time now, and there's a lot of problems with it. There's been a tremendous amount of problems with doing that, and you know, he's determined. He's making quite a bold claim, um, and I would imagine he's going to, if he want, you know, because I think if he wants to come out with this, he wants to really press on it. Um, you know, because it's something that he'll need to be saying in context to himself in uh, further videos as needed. But none of that matters because the Pahana matters to the big picture. But at the end of the day, he didn't have to be the Pahana. I didn't know that, you know, that he thought that he might be the Pahana. He never fucking up until these videos came out. Nobody was told that until they looked into it in the archives behind the paywall. Well, it's not even a paywall. It's just the initiate wall, um, which you have to pay for, but it's a one-time initiation. Um, you just go in there, and he's a shaman and a magus, and and possibly a dragon in human form, and a witch king. Yeah. He's a lot of things. Magi Earl Shaman. He is all the things, obviously, that are of what his order does, that he's discussed on the channel, right? And the misconception is that it's a look, it attracts my kind, but Zethicus talks to everybody who comes in the right spirit. Does Roxman the Khan know about that? Maybe he can help. I don't know. I don't follow Raj's show right now. I got too much on my plate, and he's a good man. So keep checking it out. But I don't really work with Ra anymore. But he's a good man. That's all I'll say. So yeah, so I think that it's unhealthy to not reevaluate all sorts of assumptions, right? Because you may have looked into a matter, but you may have looked into a matter from a particular angle, and then you only looked at that angle and its opposite angle. But there's more than one angle and its opposite. There are many angles, right? This is the Ayn Rand objectivism versus subjectivism, which is going to lend you to false robbed of informed consent, right? We do not have informed consent on this war because it was sold horribly, other than the fact that we've been theoretically at war since the Islamic Revolution. And because the Iranian government on paper looks like a socialist fucking paradise on fucking paper, the Democrats would rather just fucking give up. And we act like we want to be non-interventionists. We never have wanted to be non-interventionists. I mean, like, look, we've been breaking what George Washington said since Manifest Destiny. We could have just fucking kept all that shit as it is and said, that's all right. Maybe the Native Americans will figure it out. We'll risk other countries taking the American West. We don't need the USA all over this continent. No, why would we? Yeah, no, Manifest Destiny, we've been selling that as an evil for fucking ever. And we have a tendency to be very pig-headed about taking away people's freedoms in the name of civilizing. It became a major reason why someone like me as a kid who had a feeling of being a little bit of a wild child, um, going off on impulses, which, yeah, there's a lot of bad going on there, but also kind of like when growing up, getting very interested in, oh, I want to be the guy with long hair because I discovered Metallica and I thought it looked cool the way they headbanged and stuff, and it just looked cool. I was just like, wow, that is an awesome look. I'm into that. For you don't know why, other than the compulsion of the riff and saying, wow, that riff will make me feel like that. I want to look like that because I want to feel like that, right? And I mean, and that's been a part of it, right? It's just like Christian men fucking cut their hair, right? That, in the modern world, that's the idea, right? It's a grooming thing. It's like those are the false gender lines, right? We've been doing the false gender line thing for so long. We've been calling like men with long hair like girls for so long, up until more recently that was done as an underpinning to basically guilt us for a lot of nasty bravado bullying from boys in school. And some of it was especially cruel, don't get me wrong, but it didn't happen as often as you think. It's just that Hollywood made it seem that way, and television made it seem that way, because we weren't doing anything about the little of it that there was. And the problem is that we committed to the idea that it was a phenomenon when it was really just happening to a handful of people. And then we repeat this process over and over again to fucking ruin everybody's good time. Then, one guy has a fucking habitual problem, and apparently we think it's going to become an issue for everybody, and so we do this whole thing, right? It's just like every year they'll find some new fucking data about unsafe vehicle conditions, and then they'll update all of the fucking regulations on the vehicle, and then the vehicle becomes a little bit more gay, right? Now they're fucking making cars where you fucking you dial a knob instead of fucking rocking a stick, like they're making cars that are only appealing to drive for dainty people, ladylike women, and effeminate men. Well, all right. Well, I think I've made my my feelings for now. So if you saw my community post last night, I was dying to go live, but it seems like I've reached the point where my PC cannot handle running Streamlabs OBS, and I would have to be able to go live if I can make it on StreamYard directly, because the browser probably doesn't take up as much as the whole OBS app. So that'll be a completely different format to the appearance of the show. We'll see how it goes. And so in the meantime, I am still working on having a strong, healthy, consistent working life in the real world, right? I would like to not become the next Styx Hexenhammer. Thankfully, I don't drink enough mead to look that retarded. Anyway, I will catch you guys later.